Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we got ourselves a good old-fashioned LCS comic book haul. That is right. Last weekend, I went to my local LCS, actually a local LCS that I've never been to before, but I frankly will be going to quite a lot more from here on out. Picked up 3 books, spent about $1,300, and I feel like I got myself a really, really good deal on all 3 of these keys. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys the books I picked up, and then later on talk about what might be a little more important, and that is this idea of the comic grading margins might be starting to come back in this market. But before I get into it, if you guys could drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, helps support the channel doing those things, I'd appreciate it. But let's get into this video here today. Now let's of course jump right into it. This past weekend, I was hanging out with some friends. Shout out to Michelle and Justin. We went out to this LCS here in the Southern California area. And this person had just picked up a new collection. And they had a couple of these keys, including some other ones that I'm actually curious to go back for. And the guy who was selling it did the thing that every comic book hunter and collector's, fantasy is as soon as this happened. But he talked about how he had these books and he was going to, price them. And he pulled out the Overstreet price guide. And I was like, oh man, this guy is pricing these books with Overstreet. This might be a really, really good opportunity. But in fact, it was a good opportunity. The first book I picked up from him was this one right here, Invincible Iron Man #1. And as you guys can see, I'm holding this thing so gingerly because this is a beautiful, beautiful copy of this book. Now there are a couple little spine ticks on the side right here. He had this listed as a VG. A VG for this book, charged $600 for it. I felt like that was a really, really good price for this one, considering that all I have to do is hit a 6.0 to at least make all of my money back on this one. And I'd be shocked if this got anything less than a 7. I'm trying to be a little bit conservative here. I don't want to get too excited about the grades, but I feel pretty confident that this could be anywhere from a 7.0, 7.5, maybe 8.5. I mean, there are a few spine ticks on it, but outside of that, I mean, I've seen a lot of Iron Man copies. I've owned this book a few times before. I've seen it so many times in person, be raw or graded. I don't know if I've seen one that has colors as nice as this one. I've even seen, the 9/8 graded versions of this, in the Heritage booth and stuff like that. And the colors on this copy are absolutely just immaculate. They're striking. So super excited to have picked it up. And, it's crazy that he only had this priced at $600. Even crazier that he was calling it a VG. I was like, man, I don't want to send my books into grading for you because I feel like you're even tougher than what people are currently getting at CGC and CBCS. So really excited to pick that one up. And I'll talk a little bit more about the story after I go through the rest of the books here. This next one I got is another one that he said came from that same collection. And very similarly, he had this one marked as a VG. But this one right here, similar book, is Silver Surfer #1, another big premiere issue from the 1968 run where they started to do all these #1 issues like the Iron Man I just showed you. And this one right here also, like I said, he called this one a VG, and I also got this one for $600. But as you guys can see, I mean, this is a book that is always beat up. At the very least, it always usually has a reader's crease. As you guys know, this is a thicker one. I mean, the spine on this one is amazing. The spine is fantastic. There are a few little color breaks on the spine. Just one here, 2 there. That's really it. There's a very, very faint little slash right there. Not a slash, but like the slightest of color break. Like just a tiny little scratch. And outside of that, I mean, the colors are fantastic. The corners are razor sharp on this copy. Obviously, I got to get this one cleaned a little bit. You guys can see a little dirt on his chest right there, but little dirt smudges and things that can easily be removed with a press and clean. And again, another book I got, like I said, I got for $600. All I got to do is hit a 6.0. I mean, I think this is a $1,000 book in 6.0. Maybe it's like 900 at this current moment in time. But, potential for this to be, I'd say, 7.0 for sure. Conservative 7.0. maybe a little bit better. I mean, it's hard. There's this tiny little light scratch right there in the black. Depends on how hard they want to nitpick that. I mean, I've seen 8.0s that have worse color breaking scratches than that. So that could be another really good opportunity. And then the third book I picked up for myself once again is probably the one that I'm most excited about. I mean, again, I don't know what school of grading this guy went to, but I picked up an XMen number 60, first appearance of Sauron. Got this one for, well, you can't see on the sticker right there unless, it's coming in, $50. He called this one a fine plus. Well, if he called these right here a VG, certainly a fine plus would be even better. And it definitely was, because this, again, I've had this book, I don't know, 7, 8 times. This is by far the nicest copy I've ever seen in person in my life. The spine is perfect. The book is perfect. I mean, the only thing is this, like right here in the corner, very, 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 very tiny, almost non-color breaking crease right there, almost non-color breaking. So, I don't want to get too excited with this one. I would be very disappointed if this got under a 9.4. I'd be very, very disappointed. But, it could be a good opportunity. And it depends. I mean, look, again, I'm not a professional grader. I'm using my best judgment on these things. Obviously, there could be stuff under a microscope or a light that I cannot see. But I did my inspecting, and I'm very, very excited about those 3 books, those 3 grades, and happy I was able to pick them up at the deal that I got. But, when I picked them up, this got me thinking about, what I would talk about in today's video and just kind of where we are with the market and things like that. I made that video the other week where I picked up that Iron Fist 14 for $200 at the LCS. And they had, again, graded it like as a mid-grade. I think it could get, an 8.0, maybe a little bit higher. And I'm starting to think that now that opportunities at LCSs are starting to pop up, now that there are raw auctions going on eBay that end at 4 in the morning, where people can just pick up a raw copy of a random book like an Iron Man 1 and not enough people are watching it and it slips through the cracks. I'm really starting to think that we are getting now back to a place where there is margins and opportunity for grading comic books. Now, remember, some months back, I made a video where I think I titled it Raw Books Are on the Rise. And we've had conversations about that, how raw books for a time earlier this year were really the books that people were going after. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that, at that time, still in the market, people were still looking for those premiums on the graded comic books. So at that point, everybody was thinking to themselves, well, why would I even pay for this premium on this graded comic book if I could just find a raw book for, slightly less value, or, at least I can just enjoy the book more than it just being encased in a piece of plastic. Well, now I think that the market has felt that pressure, right? We've had that pullback throughout the year. I think there's been a lot of capitulation. People have, eventually come onto this idea that the market has softened now, especially. And so for that reason, the graded prices have really started to equalize all across the board. People are starting to really understand what the floor values are. And on top of that, people are starting to really, have to undercut those graded prices with all the raw books that they have for sale as well in order to move that inventory. Another element of this is think of how many collections have been picked up by all other, comic book dealers, or comic book, even YouTubers. I mean, think of how many people right now are talking about how, I found this comic book collection, on the thumbnail. Well, there's a lot of collections that are coming up, right? A lot of people are, looking to get some cash in these times. And, people can make their margins pretty easily with buying those collections, and they can sell those raw books to, all the people who follow them for, pretty competitive deals overall. And then those people can then now take their money or take the book that they bought and get it graded and make the margin on the graded book. Because the people who are interested in buying the graded book want to know that, they can have a very specific grade. They can know how much they're paying for this, because with all the prices, and the volatility of them, they want to know that their money, has a certain floor that they're investing into it now. So now we've kind of returned to this ecosystem where, it's much like it was back in 2019 and 2020. And it's funny how that works. Like everything that was pre-COVID is finally returning to where we are today. Like everything is returning back to normal. We are in a place where once again, comic books are back to normal. Collectibles are back to normal. These things don't double and triple overnight. They're probably, if anything, going to return, 3% to 12%, depending on the key, depending on the grade, depending on these things, and depending on what you buy for. That's how you can reliably make some value and equity in the comic books that you actually own. And it really does feel like, grading margins are coming back. People are going to be able to go to those LCSs. This guy, picked up this collection. He priced them at $600. He probably made, 6x his money already. And he's giving me, the buyer at his LCS, an opportunity to go get it graded and then also double their money as well. So, we're kind of in a healthy ecosystem once again. And that means that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people out there to send books back into CGC, where earlier in the year that wasn't so much the case. But that is my story. That is my LCS weekend haul. Picked up these 3 books right here. Very, very excited for the deals I was able to get on them. I think I'm going to go back to that LCS, see if there's anything more I can pick up for myself. And I'm probably going to send those ones off for grading. So let's see if I got ahead of myself. Maybe there's some flaws on there that are going to make them not as high of a grade as I initially thought. Or maybe I'm going to go to the moon. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think graded comic book margins are coming back here in Q3 and Q4 of 2023? Have you been finding deals on those raw books? Anyways, that's all I got for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. See you all in the next one.